Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking all of the cantrips in Baldur's Gate 3 for patch 8, which introduced Booming Blade, Booming Blade, the most powerful new cantrip, which is a little bit different from the others, as most cantrips will scale at level 5 and 10. This one will scale at level 5 and 11. So at the very start, it doesn't do any additional damage, but it'll give you an additional 1d8 of damage when the target moves. Once you hit level 5, this adds a 1d8 to your normal weapon attack, and then a 2d8 when the target moves, and then once you hit level 11, it adds a 2d8 and eventually a 3d8 when the target moves. What is huge about Booming Blade, though, is it uses a melee attack roll. Now, if you're a high elf or a high half elf, you get to pick a cantrip at level 1. This makes Booming Blade an extremely attractive option for these reasons. If you're playing a battle master fighter, you can take Booming Blade. It doesn't scale off your intelligence. Massive. Whereas all the other high elf cantrips will use your intelligence, so they're never really useful to use if you're trying to make an attack roll or trying to do a saving throw against an enemy. Booming Blade will just use your weapon's attack roll. So great on a ranger, great on a paladin, great on a fighter, great on anyone that doesn't have the ability to get it naturally, which is available to the wizards, warlocks, and sorcerers, as well as the arcane trickster and the eldritch knight fighter. But every single character in the game that's melee can benefit from Booming Blade. I don't want to go on and on for hours about how good Booming Blade is. You can just imagine. It's like a free smite you can use per action. If you have haste on your character, you can do a Booming Blade and an attack, and then another Booming Blade and an attack. So per turn, it's really as many actions as you have on your character. What's also nice is if you're not in honor mode, the Ring of Elemental Infusion will give you an additional 1d4 of damage after doing Booming Blade, so your next attack will also further do damage. And this is nice because any type of gear that benefits from thunder will likely benefit from this as well. So things like the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies, when you deal thunder damage, you apply reverberation on the target. Extremely useful, especially on a paladin, because you can then do radiant damage, and it's just super good. As mentioned, Booming Blade is really powerful on any character in the game that does melee attacks. So with that, Booming Blade is the best cantrip, bar none. We're started with the best. Now we're following up with one of the worst, with True Strike. And now this is kind of funny. Highly regarded as one of the worst cantrips in the game because it takes an entire action, it requires a concentration, and it gives your next attack roll advantage. Only your character, though. You can use True Strike and then set up your rogue to be able to get that extra benefit. So there's one particular use case on this, but in all honesty, if you're going to use something like this, you're better off doing an attack and then on your next action do an attack, because it'll take two attacks, or it'll take two actions to get what you could get out of a normal weapon attack. Advantage means you're rolling 2 die, so you may as well just roll the 2 die by just attacking twice, in my honest opinion. There's the one use case, though. If you're an arcane trickster, I feel bad for you for picking the arcane trickster, but the True Strike cantrip can actually set up your ranged version of sneak attack, because this will give you an 18-meter radius, and you can do a ranged sneak attack. That's a one use in this game. How this could be better is if they made it like for the rule set of 2024 and made it a bonus action, because why is this an action? Also, when it says 2 turns, slightly deceiving, because once your turn ends, turn 1 gone. It's only on your next turn then. So yeah, and on top of all that, if you miss your attack, it's gone. Goodbye. Sorry. So yeah, that's not really good. If you want advantage, use the risky ring. It's risky, but it's better than spending your entire action on True Strike. This is an easy D tier. I might even put it below that. It's at the very bottom of this list. Not good at all. Next up is Acid Splash. And Acid's not a bad damage type. With Acid Splash, you throw a bubble of acid that deals damage to each creature that it hits. It's okay. The thing that Acid Splash has it going for it is it hits in a pretty large area of effects. You can see that there. And acid damage is not commonly resisted, like poison or necrotic damage. So that makes it a decent option, despite being only a 1d6. This can hit multiple creatures, so it's nice if there's a lot of them grouped up. Biggest uses is if there's a lot of low health enemies, like a lot of rats in an area, you can just drop an Acid Splash without burning through your spell slots, and it'll do an okay amount of damage. Nothing crazy here, so I'd say this is probably about a B tier, maybe A tier. In certain instances it's okay, but nothing to write home about. And next up is the Blade Ward cantrip. So take only half damage from bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing attacks for 2 turns. So you can apply this to yourself, boom, and yeah, you get that nice Blade Ward, which gives you half damage from physical sources. It does take a whole action to do. That's something to keep in mind. And there's actually armor once you make it to Act 3 that'll give you the effects of Blade Ward just built in with the Armor of Persistence. So yeah, this will give you resistance and Blade Ward, which is nice to have. to waste an action to take half physical damage. There's a lot of better things to do than use Blade Ward, but it's not terrible, I'd say. Just you're likely better in the action economy of Baldur's Gate 3 to do an attack and try to reduce the targets. But yeah, I would have to say, oh, Minsc's Hand there. This is probably like a B to C tier. Maybe, yeah, I might just throw in the C tier. It's okay, but you're better off spending your action on other options. And next up, we got Bone Chill. Bone Chill is actually really good because it prevents the target from receiving healing until your next turn. And it's until your next turn. It's pretty good. And Undead receive disadvantage on their attack rolls, and it does necrotic damage. And the new Death Domain Cleric can actually do this on 2 targets for the price of 1. And you can see there I'm playing as a Death Domain Cleric, so boom! Double. Pretty decent. The big thing, though, is it prevents the target from receiving healing. Like at the end of Act 2, there's a particular boss fight that benefits from you using Bone Chill. And then there's a few other instances in Act 3 where Bone Chill is actually really good. This is a cantrip that doesn't have the best damage type, but if you like necrotic damage, level 6 Inescapable Destruction from the Death Cleric will actually ignore resistances to necrotic damage, making this very useful. Most things that are immune to necrotic damage will actually take double damage from Radiant, so it's not bad if you pair with Sacred Flame on a Cleric. It's also good on really anybody just because of the prevent the target from receiving healing. So if you know that there's a target that's going to get healing, pop this down. Boom. I think Bone Chill is good enough to put into the A to S tier. So I'm actually going to put in the S tier just because the few instances where it comes in handy to stop the target from receiving healing are massively powerful. So yeah, that is a cantrip that I would have to say is probably a S tier choice just for those few particular instances where it actually will benefit you. And next up we got Dancing Lights, illuminate a 9-meter radius. This is good because light can actually benefit a lot of different abilities in the game. It also looks kind of cool too, style points. But if you got things like the Coruscation Ring, when illuminated by a light source, you can inflict radiating orb on the target for 2 turns. So that's a good way to be able to pop that down because this will last for 10 turns. However, it does require concentration. It's not like the light cantrip, which works a little bit differently because light it's until long rest. So light, you can go pop and light someone up with that, whereas the dancing lights will only last for 10 turns and it requires a cantrip. Not the worst cantrip in the world because being able to light things up is pretty beneficial, but of the two, I think that the light cantrip normally is a little bit better in terms of its usefulness. I'd say Dancing Lights is probably like a B tier, C tier. Yeah, I like the light cantrip a little bit more, but let me know. There may be some interesting ways that people have used this before. It's nice to help out in darkness if someone doesn't have dark vision, like Lae'zel, for example. It can help out a little bit there. Next up, we got another extremely good. This used to be formerly known as the best cantrip in the game. It got replaced by Booming Blade, in my opinion. So Eldritch Blast. The big, beautiful thing about Eldritch Blast is it scales off player level. So this means that you can take a single Hexblade dip and get a 3-beam Eldritch Blast. And if you have the level 20 mod, it actually scales up to 4 beams. It does a 1d10 of force damage, and if you're a Warlock, level 2, you get 2 abilities to buff it up. You can get the Agonizing Blast and the Repelling Blast, so you can make it do a 4.5 meter pushback and add your Charisma modifier to the damage. Also, force damage, one of the best damage types in the game. I did a tier list of the best damage types a couple days ago, so you can check that out if you're curious about why force is so good, but in a nutshell, it's not resisted often. It counts as something that can break down things like chests and walls that bludgeoning damage can also do. But the big thing with Eldritch Blast is it's the Warlock's cantrip. You can just keep spamming Eldritch Blast because you get to shoot 3 of them. They get a pushback, they add the Charisma modifier to the damage, and it's a great damage type. Only really Gortash will resist force damage. There's not a lot of things in the game that resist force, so Eldritch Blast is really good. I'm not going to rate a novel on why. You all know this is one of the best cantrips in the game. I don't think it's as good as Booming Blade, though. Booming Blade has a lot of more benefits over this because it can scale off a weapon attack, so anybody can use it versus just being a spellcaster. And next we got Firebolt. Now, Firebolt's actually pretty good because there's things called Barrelmancy in Baldur's Gate 3. So sometimes you just need to blow things up to relieve some steam. And that's exactly what the Firebolt's for. So if you were to pop down a Grease, Grease is nice. Oh, we already started a fire. We didn't start the fire. This will make a greasy surface here. It's unfortunately lit up on fire there. But you get what I was trying to do with it. Once you have grease down, you can then do a firebolt on it, boom, and explode it. Firebolt itself does a 1d10 of fire damage, which is more resisted than Eldritch Blast, so Firebolt is not as great, obviously, as a cantrip as force damage, because fire is resisted by tieflings, it's resisted by a lot of ambience, fiends, etc. So Fire damage is the second most resisted damage type behind poison. It's commonly resisted. However, what's great about it again is the ability to blow things up. So let's try this again. Pop down grease, make this a tough terrain, and then boom, you can make it fiery. So yeah, it's cool for exploding things. Its usefulness kind of extends to just that. So yeah, I would say it's pretty good, just because it's able to blow things up. I wouldn't use it for damage, however, because there's a lot of better options for damage. But yeah, so we're just high B tier to A tier, just because it's useful for blowing things up, I guess. And I also want to remind you, one nice thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is you can do a free action to drop stuff in combat. So you can drop water bottles and use things like Mage Hand to throw them, or you can drop down barrels, run away, and boom, boom goes the dynamite. And next up is Friends. Now, Friends is good if you're the face of the party. Now, be mindful on higher difficulties, the target will become aware that you use Friends on them and may become hostile. So you gain advantage on charisma checks against a non-hostile creature. It's actually pretty good, but you just have to be mindful that if you're in honor mode or tactician, that people won't like that you use this Friends cantrip on them. They're going to realize that you are tricking them. So it does have its usefulness. It's an enchantment cantrip. But just be mindful that when you do use it, one, it breaks concentrations, but two, you may get a fight on your hands that you don't want to have. So yeah, Friends is, I would say, B tier, just because it is useful in certain instances, but it can also bite you in the butt worse than it can ever give you a benefit. So be cautious when using this. Next up is Guidance. Guidance is really good for the entire game. A 1d4 bonus to ability checks. Why this is good? You can use it pretty much any time in the game. So if you're going to go do a dice roll, boom, pop up Guidance. And yeah, I don't need to talk too much about getting a 1d4 bonus to dice roll. You guys know that's good. So Guidance is one that could be like it's like an S tier to high A tier. Yeah, I might just throw it up. It does require concentration. It's 10 turn long duration. Yeah, I mean, S tier to A tier. I might just leave it in A tier. We'll see at the very end. Maybe it is S tier. Hard to say because I just don't want to keep it unbalanced between the others in this list. And yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll just throw in the S tier. Why not? It's good. It's one of the most useful cantrips probably in the game. Light, however, as I mentioned, is better. With light, you can light up yourself. You can light up the world. So with this, now you got a light ability, which can, again, stack up items like the coruscation ring and anything else that'll give you a benefit while you're illuminated. But also, once you're in Act 3, you want to have a light source on you to keep your team safe. So this is better than the concentration dancing light because this lasts until long rest. And yeah, you can just pop this down. There's also mods that'll change the color of the light, which I think is really cool. But yeah, light's really useful. And no real opportunity cost for taking it. It's just going to be a good cantrip to have overall. So I'd have to say that is an A tier pick just because of Act 2 being such a pain in the butt. And also, I guess the Underdark too. You can pop this up. Lae'zel is going to be not hitting anything if she doesn't have her light. So pop it on Lae'zel, light up the GIF. And next is Mage Hand. Now, Mage Hand is cool because there's two different types of Mage Hands. Now, there's the regular Mage Hand that us normal people get if you're playing a wizard, etc. But there's a special Mage Hand for the Arcane Trickster Rogue. It's called the Mage Hand Legerdemain, a French word, meaning it's an invisible Mage Hand. And the Gith Yankee also get that special Mage Hand. What's nice about Mage Hand, especially the invisible one, I'm using a mod that makes it pink, so don't mind that. But the thing with Mage Hand is it's going to be for 10 turns, but it has some cool uses. So let's say you need to heal your team and you're in a little bit of a pickle. So you can drop down your potion of whatever, drop your potion down, put it next to your Mage Hand. What can the Mage Hand do? It can go pick it up and throw it to keep your team alive. So Mage Hand, the best healer in the game. Thank you. That was 46 health just from our Mage Hand, which you can pop before you get into combat as well. You have to do it per short rest. The Gith Yankee and the Arcane Trickster Mage Hand is really good too because it's able to just be invisible, so you're less likely it's less likely to get targeted. It only has 3 health, but even so, if it attracts an attack away from an enemy, that was a worthwhile use of it. And yeah, I do think Mage Hand is possibly one of the best cantrips in the game. You can also use it if you need to steal anything, like the Idol of Sylvanas. You can use a Mage Hand, grab it. Grim Forge, you can use this to attract Grim to the hammer and go bonk with it. It can also pull the levers. Pull the lever, Kronk. This is a easy S tier. I would say it's more usefulness. It's more useful than Bone Chill and Guidance, I would say. A good Mage Hand is, yeah, even a bad Mage Hand is useful. If it draws an attack away from your team, that's good. But even so, it has so many utility uses. It can throw water bottles if you got a sorcerer or a Tempest Domain cleric that wants to power up their cold and lightning spells. Water bottles are everywhere. Just pick them up, use the Mage Hand to its full power. Next up is the Minor Illusion Cantrip. This one's cool because, like Mage Hand, it also can pull Grim towards a specific area. But you're going to create this little spectral cat here. That's your Minor Illusion. It groups everyone there. And it only lasts for 1 turn, but it says it lasts for 10 turns. But it's going to pop up a little illusion there. It draws everyone's attention nearby. I guess it does last for 10 turns unless it gets spotted there. But the biggest use for Minor Illusion is actually to group enemies together before you drop down a fireball on them. Like if you're sneaking around before you get into combat, you can drop a Minor Illusion. It's almost like the Find Familiar. If you use a Find Familiar to grab the cat and then use the cat to meow, that's the same thing as a Minor Illusion pretty much. So yeah, Minor Illusion, it's another one that I would actually say is an S tier. I might even just move Guidance down. Just because Minor Illusion, try it out, use it more in combat, use it more outside of combat, and you're going to see its true effectiveness. It also is good for, again, pulling Grim towards the Metal Hammer. Next up is Poison Spray. Now, Poison Spray is kind of interesting. Poison Spray is the only cantrip that has a 1d12 of damage. Now, let me remind you, poison damage, one of the worst damage types because there's so many things that resist it or are straight up immune to it. Project a cloud of noxious gas. You do have a very short radius of 3 meters with it. Boom. It can do a critical hit, but it's not really that strong. Yes, it does have a higher damage die, but short range, it's pretty much a melee spell. Like, you're almost better off doing Shocking Grasp, which has a smaller damage die, but gives advantage, and target can't receive healing. Target can't use the reactions. Yeah, Poison Spray has got to be one of the worst cantrips in the game. I'd have to say it's not as bad as True Strike, but it's just not that good in general. But next we got Bursting Sinew. Now, this is another cantrip that was added with patch 8. I think it's a bit lackluster, I'll be fully honest with you. So it does a 1d10 at level 1, at level 5 it'll do a 2d10, and then eventually a 3d10. Piercing, which is a good damage type because the Ballast Armor will power it up. You explode a corpse, causing it to impale those around it. You can also, if you're a Death Domain Cleric, you can twin cast this, so you can go bloop, bloop, on 2 corpses. Just one little thing. Bursting Sinew has to have a corpse that hasn't been killed by fire damage, hasn't been killed by necrotic damage, hasn't been killed by radiant damage, hasn't been killed by most damage types, because otherwise it's going to make the corpse not able to burst, I guess. I don't know what it does, but most of the damage types and pretty much every necromancy cantrip will disallow you from using this. So like, if you went with a level 6 necromancy or a blade singing or necromancy wizard paired with 6 levels of the Death Domain Cleric, you got yourself Circle of Death, pop that down to create a bunch of corpses. Too bad they don't count because they've been burned by necrotic damage. So it's very, very situational. The exploding radius is actually pretty nice. And I guess the best thing to do if you really wanted to use Bursting Sinew is to carry a bunch of rats or anything else in your pocket. And again, free drop action, bloop, pop it down on the ground, bloop, blow it up, bloop. It doesn't really do that much. 1d10 of piercing damage when you could easily just use another cantrip like Toll the Dead, which does a little bit more damage. It's not great overall. That's just my honest take on it. You do need to prepare yourself by bringing bodies around. Whenever this was announced for patch 8, my thoughts were I was going to have Giant Barbarian Karlach throw dead bodies around and have Shadowheart blow them up. But in real actuality, it doesn't really work that well. So yeah, I might say it's somewhere around like a B to, I'll put it in the C tier. I don't think that it's that great. However, let me know in the comments if you have a useful way to take advantage of this. I think it's a cool cantrip in concept, but in like on paper it looks cool. In theory, not that great. Produce Flame. Produce Flame's a cool one. So with this, you can create a little pocket fire. You can throw some dirt in their eye, pocket sand, but pocket fire. So yeah, you go bloop, and then you got yourself this cool fiery hand, and then you got the Produce Flame Hurl, which you can use, or you can put out the fire if you wanted to. Now the thing with this is, it does cost an action to pop the sacred or the Produce Flame, but it's a free action, or it was a free action there if it's on the same turn. So if you're not in turn-based mode, when you pop it, you got 6 seconds to do the Produce Flame Hurl. So yeah, it's something. It's kind of similar to using the Produce Flame or Firebolt cantrip. It's also really cool if you're to use it while you're playing a instrument as well, because it's going to have your hand burn in there like you're in Guitar Hero. But another big useful thing about Produce Flame is it actually sheds a light in a 9-meter radius. And I previously talked about the light cantrip being really good. This is actually a larger radius than the light cantrip, and it also kind of fills the utility of Firebolt. And a lot of classes that can't get Firebolt or light can actually get Produce Flame, so like druids can get it. I actually think with that, it doesn't have the same damage as Firebolt, but as I mentioned, you're going to be using this for other reasons. So, yeah, I do think Produce Flame is actually a little bit better. People, I think, underrated a little bit. I mean, actually, it could actually maybe enough to push these two down a tier, actually, just because despite it having a 1d8 instead of a 1d10, it creates light. And there's a lot of gear in Baldur's Gate 3 that actually benefits from having a light, like the Callous Glow Ring, which will give you additional 2 points of damage against creatures that are illuminated, which is illuminated by this. And then you also can also apply the Coruscation Ring as well. So it actually has a lot of instances where it's cool. Also, a Druid can apply this and have their wild shape have this blue glowing ability. It's really cool. It lasts until long rest. Yeah, use Produce Flame. It's better than Firebolt and Light combined. It's, yeah, really great. Because Light is a 7.5 meter radius, this is a 9 meter radius. It's good. Next up is the Ray of Frost cantrip, which you can also get from using the Morning Frost. One of my favorite, or actually probably my favorite staff in the game. It gives you a free Ray of Frost, and the Ray of Frost from this will actually use your ability modifier. So if you're a cleric who doesn't normally get Ray of Frost, you can get it and cast it with Wisdom, and it'll deal additional cold damage, and this will also apply chilled on the target. Cold damage is my favorite damage type in the game. Yeah, I've said that many a time on this channel. It does a 1d8 of cold damage, and it reduces the movement speed of the target by 3 meters. Why this is good, if you're face to face with a target that has only melee attacks, so let's say Will here only has a sword, doesn't have his Eldritch Blast, and you're in his face, you could pop this and then go whoop, and then use your 10 meters of movement speed to run away from him, and then he will be stuck a little bit short of you. Odd use of it, but the big thing is it can actually apply chilled with the Morning Frost, which is an item you get in Act 1 of Baldur's Gate 3, and you should get it because it's so good. And yeah, Ray of Frost is actually one of the better cantrips in the game just because of that. Being able to apply chilled. If you have a full team built around cold damage, have someone with the Ray of Frost cantrip just applying the chilled on the targets. Chilled means the target takes double cold damage. So then if you have someone that has Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, double the damage. Ray of Frost is extremely good. I'm going to throw it up into the high A tier. It's not as good as Bone Chill because Bone Chill can remove healing from the target. This is still really good though, nonetheless. Next up is Resistance. Now, Resistance is another thing that I mentioned. The Armor Persistence can give it to you. Gives you a plus 1d4 bonus to saving throws. And this can also be used outside of combat. So if you're in a dialogue, you can use it. Similar to Guidance, it's a good one to have. Getting a bonus 1d4 to a saving throw or a bonus 1d4 to an ability check. Both of those things are good. And I would say that's another A tier choice. We're going to put it right beside Guidance. Next up is Sacred Flame. Now, Sacred Flame's not bad. It's just, it has a dexterity save. You've seen all the memes. Shadowheart can't hit the broadside of a barn with, yeah, she can't hit. The reason that she doesn't hit with Sacred Flame is because it's a dexterity save. And what do you fight in most of Act 1? Goblins who have high dexterity. So now with the new Toll the Dead cantrip, which we'll be getting to, which is a wisdom save, Shadowheart is much more reliable in combat. Sacred Flame's not bad though, because there is so many pieces of gear. Oh, why does she have white stuff all over her? There's a lot of gear that'll actually benefit from radiant damage, like the Luminous Armor. There's gloves that'll actually stack from this. The Luminous Gloves. The Gloves of the Belligerent Skies will give you reverberation. There's a lot of really great things about radiant damage, but just be mindful, there's a few parts in the game where it can be reflected back in your face, and you don't want that to happen, especially against Raphael or against Viconia. So it's good, but I do think it's kind of a middle of the pack kind of cantrip. The fact that radiant damage can stack so many abilities is nice, but I'd have to say it's probably about a B tier choice. Next is Shillelagh or Shillelagh, depending on where you're from in the world. This will enhance your club and make it magical. And it uses your spell casting ability for attack rolls. This is a druid cantrip. Now, one really nice instance. Okay, we got the Morning Frost here. It normally does a 1d8 bludgeoning plus a 1d4 of cold damage. Until we do our Shillelagh and pop that down on it. And now it's going to do even more. I guess not really in this case. If you have a torch in the early game, torches do an additional fire damage. So you can pop down a torch and then use this on it. There we go. That's a better accurate representation of it. So yeah, then it can make this torch do more damage. And then it also gets that 1d4 of fire damage on top of it. This is possibly the best early game damage. Look at that. It's cool. We got fire and fire. Druids can be pretty cool as melee builds, oddly enough, or Nature Domain Clerics. That's probably my favorite use of it. The Nature Domain Cleric is underrated for the early game. Shillelagh is a solid cantrip to have. Just going to enhance your melee attacks. Early game, I think it's really one of the best cantrips. So yeah, we'll put it there. You're not going to use it too much later on in the game, but yeah, there's a lot of weapons that'll also allow you to use your intelligence modifier or whatever spellcasting modifier for the melee attack rolls. Next up is Shocking Grasp. Shocking Grasp is good because it makes the target not receive reactions. Where this is very useful, let's say you're fighting Grim. Grim has the ability to make it so that he doesn't take any damage from anything. This will still actually work against him, and it'll get advantage, because Grim's most deadly thing is if he's up in your face and you run away from him, he does an opportunity attack and knocks you, yeah, really hard. With this, he can't use a reaction, so he can't hit you, and it'll have advantage on him because he's got big metal armor. So it's good for getting away. If you need a run, this is good. Also, the Warcaster feat will give you a reaction-based Shocking Grasp, which you can do. So that's cool too. Shocking Grasp is actually one of the better cantrips in the game just because it provides so many opportunities to get away. And that's what happens if you're fighting against a target. As I mentioned, the Ray of Frost, it doesn't have the advantage Ray of Frost, but with this, you'll be able to run away from targets. So yeah, I'd have to say that Shocking Grasp is probably a A tier. Both of these can also be doubled in their damage. Not that cantrips do a lot of damage, but it's something if the target has the wet status applied to them. And next up, we got Toll the Dead. Now, Toll the Dead is actually pretty solid. This is, I guess, I mentioned Poison Spray having a 1d12. This also has a 1d12 if the target is below max health. If it's at full health, it only takes a 1d8, so this is best used on targets that have taken a bit of damage. The Necromancy Cleric, or the Death Domain Cleric, can apply this to 2 targets, and the big thing, it's a Wisdom save. This makes poor Shadowheart much more likely to be able to hit somebody. So if you were someone that's made memes about Shadowheart missing all the time, yeah, she's much better now with the Toll the Dead cantrip, which you can get. So yeah, slight buff to Shadowheart. It's nothing really to write home about. I might just put it in the higher part of the B tier. It's a good replacement for Sacred Flame. Just necrotic damage is resisted often, but that's not a worry. Anything that is immune to necrotic damage will take double from Sacred Flame likely, so that's good. Now, Thaumaturgy is one of the hardest cantrips to get because it's only available to the Cleric. And now the new Giant Barbarian, so that's another way to get it. Advantage on Intimidation and Performance checks. Also, I guess the Zerial Tieflings will also get it, so Karlach will be a recipient of the Thaumaturgy. Not a very common cantrip, but it's useful in certain situations because that advantage on Intimidation and Performance checks is nice. Now, there's 3 main dialogue. There's Persuasion, Deception, and Intimidation. This is more so, Intimidation can be kind of an evil character, or if you want to be a big buff brute, like a Giant Barbarian. So you can pop this down, you get advantage on Intimidation and Performance checks, which can be cool if you want to play the lute, I guess, because that's a performance check. So you can put on your angry face and then play the violin, and people like it. So yeah, that's one situation, I guess. Thaumaturgy is not really that crazy good, but it's useful to have at certain times. Nothing really super special here. I'll throw it into the B tier. But next we got Thorn Whip. Now, Thorn Whip's kind of fun. It's a druid cantrip. It does a 1d6 of piercing damage and pulls creatures 3 meters closer to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The pulling it closer to you is kind of cool. It won't work if it's huge in size, but you can go whoop and yank them towards you. This is a cantrip that's fun. Yeah, just seeing that's always fun. It can be sometimes useful if you're, let's say, very niche use, Goblin Camp, and you got a bridge with an endless pit in front of you, and you go, haha, see you later, and you pull them down to the pit. That's its biggest use. Yeah, Thorn Whip is good. It's good, I guess. 1d6 piercing. I'll throw it into the B tier as well. It's nothing to write home about, but not the worst cantrip in the world. Now, one of my favorite cantrips is Vicious Mockery. The reason this is good, look at this pose that your character does when they're about to pop a Vicious Mockery. I think that says enough. The biggest benefit of Vicious Mockery is hearing what your character says. I'll let you listen. Oh, got countered spelled pissant. Yeah, we'll do this again. Yeah, your character says some funny stuff. Yeah, sometimes. Elminster's ball bag. Yeah, the dialogue that you get from Vicious Mockery is hilarious. It is the lowest cantrip damage of only a 1d4, but it gives a creature disadvantage on its next attack roll, which is pretty big because they're a lot less likely to hit you whenever you get hit with it. It also has a wisdom save, which not a lot of characters are able to resist. Every single character in the game has dialogue for Vicious Mockery. So if you're doing an origin playthrough as Astarion, play him as a sword bard, thank me later. Vicious Mockery is hilarious. The biggest benefit, in my opinion, of Vicious Mockery is there's a particular ring in Act 3 that's extremely useful with the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel with When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cast an illusion or enchantment spell as a bonus action. This is a cantrip, but it counts as a spell, and you can then do bonus action Vicious Mockeries. There's also the Vicious Mockery you get from playing as the Swashbuckler Rogue, which is also a bonus action, but the difference is you can do this as a free bonus action on any character if you get the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. And it scales up to like basically a 3d4 damage, potential 12 damage, nothing high, but it gives a disadvantage on the attack roll, and it puts a big smile on your face when you hear your character saying Elminster's ball bag. Nothing better. There's hilarious dialogue. I highly recommend using this as often as you can because, yeah, it's just funny. Vicious Mockery is a cantrip that I would say is an A-tier pick. I'm not favoriting it because it's funny. I'm favoriting it because that disadvantage attack rolls is nice and it's funny. So there you have it, folks. A little recap of the best cantrips in Baldur's Gate 3's Patch 8. Booming Blade. The reason I have it at the highest here is because you can put this, if you play as a high half-elf or a high elf as a fighter, let's say you went Battlemaster fighter, you get Booming Blade. If you want to play a full 12 levels of Paladin, you can get Booming Blade. If you wanted to dip a single level of the Hexblade Warlock, you can grab Booming Blade. It just gives you an extra 2d8 plus additional 3d8 if the target moves damage. That's really good, and there's so many ways to trigger it. It also triggers a lot of gear too. Eldritch Blast, tried and true, they used to be the best cantrip. Sorry, but Booming Blade took its place. Mage Hand, enough said. Throwing things, healing your team, throwing water bottles is super useful, and the invisible ones can scout ahead for you. Minor Illusion, extremely useful as well. Groups enemies together before you get into a fight. And also, if you're sneaking around, if you want to steal things from merchants, pop a Minor Illusion, get them to move out of the way, and then you can steal whatever you want to your heart's content. You just continually put it into turn base and pop more Minor Illusions, which will group enemies into different areas. Bone Chill, stopping the target from receiving healing. That is highly valuable. Ray of Frost, reducing target's movement speed, and you can get it from the Morning Frost, and the Morning Frost will make it apply chilled. So that's the item you can get in Act 1, and it can last you the entire game. Cold spells are very useful. Shocking Grasp stops the target from doing reactions so you can run away from Grim or any other baddies. Vicious Mockery, it's funny. Guidance and Resistance, super useful, and Produce Flame. It has the effects of Firebolt and Light all in one. And then Firebolt, Toll the Dead, Shillelagh, Light, Thorn Whip, Acid Splash, Sacred Flame, Thaumaturgy, and Friends are all pretty solid. Bursting Sinew, Dancing Lights, Blade Ward, there's better cantrips out there just because Bursting Sinew is so hard to get it to pop off because everything and its other elemental damage types will reduce the effectiveness and make it not worthwhile. Poison Spray, it's poison damage. It does a 1d12. It does have an attack roll and you can critically hit with it, but out of all the cantrips, it's much better. And True Strike, true dog crap. It's not good. So let me know which of these is your favorite in Baldur's Gate 3, and let me know your thoughts on the best cantrips in the game. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Have a great day.